guys, my name is Emily. Welcome to another Top 5 Wednesday. Top 5 Wednesdays were created by Lainey from Ginger Reads Lainey and are currently hosted by Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. Links to everything will be in the description box down below. Today should be July 12th, and today I'm talking about my favorite pieces of children's literature. I cannot narrow this down to 5. In fact, I've divided it into 2 categories. I have my favorite picture books, and then I have my favorite 9 to 12 year books. The young readers, as we call them at Indigo, or middle grade in some places. This video that you're watching now is going to be my favorite picture books. Let's start with Interstellar Cinderella by Deborah Underwood and Meg Hunt. So this tells the story of Cinderella, a classic fairy tale. We all know the story. Here we have Interstellar Cinderella. This is told in space. And our Cinderella figure obviously has the same life, same like fairy godmother story thing. She wants to be a mechanic, not a wife. I love that Cinderella is in a quote-unquote male field, a mechanic, a spaceship mechanic. I love that at the end she doesn't end up a wife or mother, but has a career. And I love the color palette. I love that it's so dark and rich with like bright things that really pop, like her hair. I think it's really visually stunning, in addition to being a story with a great message and a fun play on a classic fairy tale. One of my favorite picture books, and a recent one that I've read as an adult. So let's talk about the other thing that I read as an adult that I really enjoy because it's clever and interactive. And that is Billy Twitters and His Blue Whale Problem by Mac Barnett and Adam Rack. So this is a book obviously about a boy who gets a blue whale and then has to take it all over the place and deal with the issues of having a blue whale as a pet. If you take off the dust jacket, there is a special offer. Send us a self-addressed stamped envelope and we will send you a blue whale. Don't worry, the envelope's just for the instruction manual. We won't try and stuff the whale in there. If you actually send a letter away, you will get a letter in return saying that your whale is stuck in customs. But you can phone him. And then if you phone that number, you can hear whale noises and leave a message for your whale while he's stuck in customs. And there's actually a video of Mac Barnett on YouTube talking about the kids that continually call back to check in with their whale and to tell the whale how their life is going, what they're up to. What I like about this book is the sort of breaking of the fourth wall. That you have this thing that seems like fiction, but that it comes to life, that it's something that you can interact with in the real world, and I love that, and I will link the video down below, and I highly recommend checking it out. The next book I have here is I Want My Hat Back by John Klassen. So this is a simple story about a bear who has lost his hat and he wants his hat back. And I love this sort of stone-faced bear, no expression, simple story about a bear who has lost his hat and he wants his hat back. And I love this sort of stone-faced bear. Here you have this bear who is devastated. My poor hat, I miss it so much. And like he has no expression. It's like he's totally devoid of personality because he's lost his hat. I just think it is silly and it's funny and I love the illustrations. Again, one of my favorite picture books that I've picked up as an adult. The rest of the books we have here are things that I read as a child that I still think are phenomenal. I'm not sure how hard it would be to find these in stores. I have never seen most of these books in our children's section, so keep that in mind. One of the books that I love is Frogs by Andrea Wayne von Königslau? How do you want to make those umlauts make sound? If you can make this make sound and can spell it phonetically in the comments, I will be very happy. It's illustrated by Michael Marchenko. Michael Marchenko is one of my favorite illustrators. He does most of Robert Munsch's illustrations, and they are beautiful and hilarious, which is part of the reason I like Frogs. The other part is that it's a story about 2 sisters who go down to a pond and start kissing all these frogs, and they all turn into princes. For a while, everyone's happy because, ooh, princes. But then the princes start doing weird things like eating flies, and they sit in the pond and they're sad. It's a fun take on the Frog Prince story. Here are your sad princes. I just think it's really cute. I think it's a really cute story. And again, it's a fun play on a classic tale, which is something that I really enjoy, and I would highly recommend this if you can find a copy. The next book I have here is The 7 Silly Eaters by Mary Ann Hoberman and Marla Frazee. It's one of the first books that I read by myself because it came with a tape that you could listen to while you read. This is the story of Mr. and Mrs. Peters, who have 7 children. Each of their 7 children has a aversion to food, and it just goes through with each additional child who only prefers one food until it gets to the point that Mrs. Peters loses her shit because her children are difficult and malnourished. I love reading it out loud. I love the illustrations because there are so many little details. Highly, highly recommend this if you can get a copy of it. So the next books I have here are sort of a stand-in for any of Barbara Reed's work. Somewhere I have The Party, and I think The Party is probably my favorite, but I can't find my copy right now. So Barbara Reed does these cool clay illustrations, and that is what I love. Barbara Reed just puts so much work into these clay illustrations, and they have texture, they have dimension, and that is part of what I like about these, just the unique illustrations. And I think they're fun to read to kids because they have just so much going on visually. The next thing I have here, and last, is Robert Munsch. Anything Robert Munsch. Robert Munsch tells silly stories, and they are wonderful to read out loud. He is a Canadian. He is a former teacher, so he really knows what children like and what goes over well with children. I think my actual favorite by Robert Munsch is The Paper Bag Princess. Again, Michael Marchenko does a lot of his illustrations, and Michael Marchenko did the illustrations here. This is the story of Elizabeth. Elizabeth likes Prince Ronald, but Prince Ronald is kind of a douchebag. And then one day a dragon comes and destroys her castle, destroys her clothes, and carries away Prince Ronald. And of course Elizabeth, being the badass that she is, decides that she is gonna go get Prince Ronald back. She's gonna save her beloved, and so she has no clothes, all she can find is a paper bag, so she wears that paper bag. She goes on this adventure and she tricks the dragon, and it is beautiful and wonderful, and in the end she decides she doesn't need Prince Ronald because he's a douchebag. We have badass female character with a feminist message, and it's a children's book. It is a funny children's book, and it is ideal for reading out loud. I love it. So these are some of my favorite pieces of children's literature for kids in the 3 to 5 age range. I would highly recommend checking these out. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have read any of these, and let me know what your favorite picture book was from your childhood. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.